I've been incentivized. Welcome back to another episode of the GameSmith unboxing series. Today, in our third episode of our City of Lost Omens set, we're going to be taking a look at the incentive boxes that came with the case. We have two incentive premium sets that were released with the Pathfinder's City of Lost Omens miniatures case. The first set is a pair of adult dragons, a red and a black, which retails for $59.99 US. Let's start with the red dragon, which is number 45 of 46 for the City of Lost Omens miniature set. This is a gorgeous sculpt that reminds me of Wayne Reynolds' first edition Pathfinder core rulebook cover artwork. At a glance, the action in the pose is a bit static, but I really like it. To me, it looks like the dragon has just spotted an unwelcome visitor in its lair, and it's standing its ground against the intruder. The massive wingspan cannot be contained by the base, and that makes the size of this miniature quite imposing. I think the detail in the muscles, scales, spikes, and wings is breathtaking. I also think the detail on the face and mouth are also worthy of this huge-sized dragon. As far as the painting goes, I'm satisfied with the colors and the detail of this adult red dragon. There is some shading and discoloration between the scales and spikes, which I think lends an air of age to this miniature. However, the scales on the underbelly are a bit mottled or blotchy, like the dark wash wasn't given enough time to settle before it dried. The join lines between the different parts, the wings and the legs and the tail, are rather obvious. However, as a tabletop miniature, these unsightly lines are within the realm of reasonable. Overall, I'm quite happy with this miniature, and I highly recommend it to tabletop gamers of any system that incorporates red dragons. If you have an opinion on this miniature that you'd like to share with us, please post a comment down below. The second dragon in the premium set is the huge black dragon. Where to start on this? The coloration is magnificent. The blending of the purple and the black is outstanding. On miniatures, even large ones such as our huge black dragon, these colors tend to blend together to such a point that they're indistinguishable from each other. However, in this case, the purple has an almost iridescent or shimmering quality to it as the dragon rotates. Likewise, black coloration tends to hide any surface details that miniatures have, but that's not the case here. We get the detail in the scales, muscles, textures in the leathery wings, and on the spines of the dragon's back and neck. As far as the painting on this black dragon goes, WizKids has really outdone themselves. The gray scales on the underbelly and the neck are nicely blended. The dry brushing on the horns really highlights their shape and texture. The pose has the appearance of a predator looking into the distance as potential prey moves across its field of vision. Unfortunately, I can't ignore these join lines. I could tolerate the join lines on the red dragon, but these are just too obvious. Some of these joints remind me of toy dinosaurs that you find at the dollar store, and that's just not acceptable for a premium-priced miniature. I hope that this is only an issue with the miniature that I happen to purchase, and not the entire sculpt. I'd like to hear from you in the comment section if you've encountered the same thing with this miniature. That being said, I'm still happy with this miniature, mostly because of the detail in the sculpt and the phenomenal paint job. The second premium release is the Thieves Guild set. This set of dungeon dressing comes with 18 separate pieces and retails on the Paizo website for $59.99 US. None of these miniatures are numbered, nor are they based. However, they are to scale for medium-sized based miniatures. We'll start with the Trapdoor, which is a rather straightforward terrain accessory that is slightly larger than a square inch. The dungeon dressing is quite detailed and the sculpt is convincing as a closed trapdoor. What is remarkable about this set piece is that we can open the trapdoor to reveal the tunnel below. The small ladder piece can be stored in the closed trapdoor and quickly snapped into place. The effect is quite convincing that we have a functional trapdoor on our game table. The Thieves' weapon rack is next, and what a deadly little display this is. We have daggers, knives, caltrops, alchemist fire, poison, lockpicking tools, and rope. This accessory is functional in any environment you might find tools such as these,
not just a rogue's den. Next we have a combat training dummy, which is not quite the same as the wooden man post used in martial arts. As far as room decoration, this piece is acceptable, though not really useful for widespread environments. The miniature is well constructed and the paint job is good. The pickpocket training dummy is also nice to look at, but is really only useful in the rogue's den environment. Personally, I like my terrain accessories, especially ones this pricey, to have more functionality so I can use them in several locations. The focus of the Thieves Guild set is NORGORBER'S altar. The piece is well constructed and the detail is amazingly thorough, and the addition of the bloodstain creates a creepy air about the terrain piece. The altar itself could be used in several game environments and not just as an altar. A secret door entrance is the first thing that comes to my mind. My only real criticism is that the altar could have been produced in 2 parts so that so much packaging wasn't needed for the Thieves Guild set. The 2 flame-colored braziers do light up from LEDs that are in the base of the altar. There are 3 light settings like a tri-light, from dim to bright. Next we have some decoration for the altar to the Reaper of Reputation, 2 corpse piles. The pile on the right has a much better defined sculpt, and I can tell what I'm looking at, a collection of collapsed bodies. Unfortunately, the coloration of the mold seems to be, at best, an afterthought. I think an additional wash would have really highlighted the details on this sculpt. Given the price point on this premium set, these corpse piles are a disappointment. Our next terrain accessory is the archery and thrown dagger target. The detail on this little archery target is good. I can tell exactly what the object is as soon as I see it. We can see with a ruler nearby how small the target really is. This accessory could be used on a training field, a competition field, or in a tavern. Now we have very, and I mean very, small terrain accessories in the Thieves' Tools and Loot Sack. I can understand having terrain pieces like these attached to a table or a desk, but sitting by themselves makes losing them almost a certainty. Looking at them with a ruler nearby, we can see that the loot sack is slightly larger than the eraser on a normal pencil. As a result, to be on the safe side, I'll most likely glue these pieces to a table or a desk. That being said, I think the paint job is great and the detail on these sculpts is terrific. Now we have the training chest, and I think this accessory is among the best in the set. I will absolutely be using this piece a lot because of all the additional locks on the chest. I can foresee my players having to figure out which of the locks actually opens the chest, and which springs a trap, and which are merely decoration. This locked chest is just under an inch long, and the detail is spectacular, despite a few minor painting issues, which would really be barely noticeable on the table. Next up is the training door. This miniature has a medium-sized transparent base and is a great sculpt. The inside of the door is covered by a dozen locking mechanisms, and would be a great way to highlight how difficult a room is to get into. The detail on the locks, chains, bars, and mechanisms to keep the door locked is excellent. I could definitely use both sides of this accessory on my game table. Now we have a loot table, which is slightly larger than a medium base. I like this terrain piece because it makes an excellent treasure pile that includes boots, a backpack, mask, ring, bracelet, dagger, and more. Both the sculpt and the paint job are good enough to make out clear details even in the middle of your game table. This terrain piece is also functional in more than just one location, and will create all kinds of paranoia among players. Now we have a card table that is the same size as the loot table we just looked at. The details on this mini are also outstanding and are clearly visible and well defined. The cards show the faces, the beers have foam heads, and the melted candles have little tiny flames on them. Our final terrain pieces are a matching pair of chairs. And quite frankly, I'm surprised by the amount of detail on these chairs. The slightly separated join lines works to make the chairs appear well used and rickety. The chairs match the scale of the tables and can be used in any environment, especially when they're used as blocking terrain or as impromptu weapons. We come to the end of our first unboxing series with the City of Lost Omens premium sets. Overall, I'm very happy with the dragons, and I think they are definitely worth the money I spent. In contrast, however, while I'm happy with the majority of the Thieves Guild set, the limited functionality of most of the pieces disappoints me. I know the set is called the Thieves Guild set, but I think the price point is much too high given the number and size of terrain accessories included in the pack. I won't be surprised when WizKids releases these minis as an unpainted set for half the cost. If you have a comment on any of the minis, or you'd like to suggest your own best in box, we'd like to hear from you in the comments section down below. If you'd like to support us here at The GameSmith, there are a number of ways you can do that. If you haven't already subscribed, now is a great time. Check out our website at TheGameSmith.org. Read our free monthly blog and listen to our podcast. Join us on social media like Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest. Finally, you can join Patreon, which gives you access to content like our podcasts and exclusive videos. Your support in any form is much appreciated. Until next time, I'll see you at the table.